If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining Keep It Clean with FightersRep. Today we're going to be talking about Mikey Garcia signing with Eddie Hearn. These are big moves from the former lightweight and light welterweight. Last we seen him welterweight champion in Mikey Garcia, one of the better boxers in the fight game. And this is huge for a guy like Eddie Hearn, who's obviously always trying to sign international talent. Signing Mikey Garcia is a really big deal, you know, especially considering the fact that Mikey Garcia is an American fighter out of California and a big-time former champion, one of the elites in boxing. The only fight he's ever lost was his last fight out against Errol Spence Jr., where he moved up 2 weight classes to challenge Errol Spence. And it looks like Mikey has inked a 1-fight deal with Matchroom Boxing, which, as you all know, or should know, is owned by Slick Eddy Hearn, or Fast Car Eddie, or whatever you want to call him. And the deal is for 1 fight on the DAZN network, which is the streaming service that basically Eddie Hearn masterminded. And it's a deal worth $7 million. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, I think, for a guy like Mikey Garcia to be getting $7 million after coming off of a loss. And we still don't know what division he's going to be competing in, but rumor has it that he'll be sticking around 140 and 147, so that'll put him at light welterweight or welterweight. As I stated previously, he took on Errol Spence Jr. at welterweight in his last fight and came up just short. It was a decision loss, but a very dominant decision loss and a very dominant win for Errol Spence Jr. Before that, Mikey had defeated the likes of Robert Easter Jr. in order to retain his WBC title and basically wrest the IBF title, lightweight title, away from Robert Easter. So again, from lightweight, jumped up to welterweight to challenge Errol Spence Jr. Not a small feat by any means. Mikey Garcia definitely got some big cojones for doing that. You got to appreciate the guy. You know, he's a quality fighter. I've always admired Mikey Garcia. Not the biggest personality, but interesting to listen to what he has to say because he's so knowledgeable on boxing. Comes from a boxing family, essentially trained by his brother Robert Garcia, a good former fighter in his own right. And, you know, brings that Mexican fan base. I think that's something Eddie Hearn is really looking for after, you know, picking up Canelo and getting him on DAZN. He's got Triple G and a lot of Russian fighters. Obviously, he's got his guys in the UK. Now he just picked up, you know, who's essentially the best or one of the best Mexican fighters in the world outside of Canelo Alvarez, or Mexican descent fighters in the world outside of Canelo Alvarez. And I think this is a big win for DAZN and for Eddie Hearn. I'm sure they're doing a 1-fight deal just to try out Mikey Garcia and see how it works out for them. But I think it's very interesting that they were able to land Mikey Garcia. Jillian Woods in the chat, thank you so much. She says, FightersRep forever, really appreciated. Jillian Woods, thank you for joining. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon. So yeah, I mean, big news for Eddie Hearn, big news for Matchroom Boxing. It makes you wonder who they're going to come after next. And it also makes you wonder why they haven't gotten Deontay Wilder yet. I do think that in the future, they'll continue to try to go after Deontay Wilder. They're probably looking for that big American star. In my opinion, that's who they're looking for. So you never know who they're going to come after next, but I do think maybe Deontay Wilder might be in the future, despite the fact that they've had so many sort of conflicts and negotiation with Deontay Wilder. People might think I'm crazy for saying this, but I do think Eddie Hearn has a lot of interest in Deontay Wilder and probably feels like he could do a lot with Deontay Wilder. That being said, do I think Deontay Wilder will ever join Matchroom Boxing or Eddie Hearn or Fight on DAZN? That's a tough sell. I think that's a very tough sell after what we've seen, but nonetheless, it is business. Money talks, and there's always that outside possibility. So that's some pretty crazy news. I'm not sure who he's going to be going up against. Some people are talking about former welterweight champion Jesse Vargas, although obviously that hasn't been confirmed, but that's just one of the rumors swirling around. And I'm assuming he would only do that if he stayed at welterweight. Something tells me he may drop to a light welterweight. Who knows what he's going to be doing. Also, I mean, it's safe to say that Mikey Garcia pulls in quite a bit of fans. His fight with Errol Spence exceeded 300,000 pay-per-view buys and drew more than 47,000 fans to Cowboy Stadium. And obviously a lot of those were Mexican and Mexican-American. So this is a good deal for Eddie Hearn to have closed. And, you know, big win for him. Big win. Let's see here. And, you know, there were rumors swirling around that UFC President Dana White was going to try to, you know, get Garcia onto his Zuffa boxing platform, which apparently is going to be launching at some point. But, you know, I guess that didn't happen. It looks like Eddie Hearn swooped in and snatched it from Dana White. I'm still curious to see what's going to happen with the Zuffa boxing platform. I'm curious to see if it'll succeed. I do think Zuffa may run into problems with the boxing platform if they're going to be paying the fighters what they pay on UFC cards. But, you know, it remains to be seen what they're going to do with regards to the pay and as far as, you know, getting the fighters paid as much as boxers typically do. Another interesting sort of thing that happened today was it looks like that Bob Arum is already talking trash against Anthony Joshua after his win against Andy Ruiz. Bob Arum seems to be saying that Pulev, and this is a quote I pulled offline, that Pulev is going to knock him on his ass in the next fight. So it looks like Bob Arum isn't especially impressed by Anthony Joshua and his performance. He says that there ain't going to be an Anthony Joshua as a top fighter. I've got a Bulgarian named Pulev who's going to knock him on his ass in his next fight. I think everyone is in agreement that Pulev would be next. So, you know, Pulev is a good fighter. He's a strong guy, but he did get knocked out by Vladimir Klitschko. And obviously that doesn't mean he's done by any means. But if he got laid out by Vladimir Klitschko, who then in turn got laid out by Anthony Joshua, it's, you know, something to watch out for if you're a Pulev fan. Also, Pulev is on a 8-fight winning streak since that loss to Vladimir Klitschko. And of course, the Vladimir Klitschko that fought Pulev in 2014 is not the same one that fought Anthony Joshua in 2017. And obviously, it's also not the same Pulev. So, you know, I sort of look forward to this fight and seeing what happens. Pulev definitely has an Olympic pedigree and enough skill and power to make it, a tough fight for Anthony Joshua. And he might be a real sleeper in the division. So, you know, definitely a fight to look out for. And, you know, just to sort of let you guys know about Pulev, I mean, he's a guy who won the bronze medal in the 2005 World Championships at super heavyweight, won the gold in the European Championships in 2008, and won the bronze in the European Championships in 2006, won a gold in the EU Championships in 2004, and won silver in 2005. So also in the EU Championship. So definitely a capable fighter, and again, a guy who's rattled off 8 wins in a row, including wins over, Hughie Fury, Sam Peter, who obviously was a bit over the hill in 2016 when they fought, but still, he beat Derek Chisora, although it was a split decision. But, he's fought some decent guys. He's beaten Alexander Dimitrenko, the guy who Andy Ruiz beat before fighting Anthony Joshua. He beat Alexander Ustinov, Tony Thompson, Travis Walker, who's, not a world beater, but, again, he's beaten some decent heavyweight competition. It's definitely not the same level of competition that Anthony Joshua fought, but it's still, a good level of competition for the heavyweight division, and I think he can pose problems for Joshua, especially if Joshua sticks to this very conservative, almost fearful style that he showed in his last fight. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Joshua fights a Kubrat Pulev. It's going to be interesting to see if Joshua has completely changed his fighting style. I mean, is he no longer going to want to engage on the inside? Kubrat Pulev can put a hurting on Joshua. He is a big, strong guy, so it's definitely something to look out for. Marco Martinez in the chat says, Garcia is a great fighter. His only loss is to the best in the division. And he says, Bob Arum is a dinosaur. Apparently he's going to be 88 years old pretty soon. So the fact that he's still talking trash and doing what he does in boxing is pretty amazing. Marco Martinez is asking, is Better Biev's next fight signed yet? I haven't heard anything about Better Biev. I would imagine that his next fight would probably, the best thing for him to do would be to fight Dmitry Bivol in order to try to unify the light heavyweight division. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be protecting Bivol, and I haven't heard anything about Better Biev getting another fight. Marco Martinez says, did you see Klitschko teasing a comeback? I hope he stays out. He's done enough. He has nothing to prove. I did see that. Klitschko has been teasing a comeback ever since his last fight. And you're right in that he has nothing to prove. But, he's looked good in basically every fight, including those losses that he took recently. So, and it's not that recent. I think Anthony Joshua's last fight he competed in. So, it's not that recent. It's a couple years out. But, Klitschko is still a guy who's capable, in my opinion, of being a threat in the heavyweight division. At the same time, he's over 40 years old, and he can really get himself hurt if he fights guys with big power like Anthony Joshua, guys that keep coming like Dillian White, guys with, the huge one-punch knockout power like Deontay Wilder. This could be, at his age, it could be life-threatening or definitely health-threatening, long-term health-threatening injuries that he could suffer in these fights. But that being said, his style is very conservative and would probably be conducive to a guy who could still do quite well in the heavyweight division. So, I wouldn't be completely against Klitschko coming back. I think he would need a tune-up fight for sure, and to kind of determine where he's at. And, that's pretty much it. So I've been on for about 15 minutes. I appreciate you guys joining the chat. I'm going to log off, but I will see you guys on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And I'll also be interviewing Andy Ruiz's coach on Wednesday, Manny Robles. I will be posting that interview for you guys as well. So definitely keep in touch. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, keep it clean, guys.